I want to welcome everyone to the August 2020 board meeting. I am Fred Davey, Chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Before I proceed with our agenda for tonight, I'd like to ask my fellow board members if they will introduce themselves, and I'd like to see if we can start with Miss Irish.
Hi, Corey Irish. I am a mayoral appointee and I live in Harlem.
Miss Bond.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Erica Bond. I'm a mayoral appointee as well, and I live in Brooklyn.
Miss Simmons.
Esmeralda Simmons.
You want to try again, Miss Simmons?
I will.
Esmeralda Simmons. I am the public advocate appointee, and I live in Brooklyn.
Mr. Dwyer.
I'm Frank Dwyer. I'm a police commissioner designee, and although I was born and raised in Brooklyn, I live in Queens.
Mr. Siegel.
Good afternoon, John Siegel. I was appointed to the board by the mayor, and I reside in the Bronx.
Mr. Rivadeneira.
Hi, good afternoon. Michael Rivadeneira. I am the council appointee to the board and proudly hail from the Bronx.
Mr. Joseph.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Joseph. I am a city council designee from Staten Island, and I live in Staten Island.
Mr. Freeman.
I'm Willie Freeman, Police Commissioner appointee. I live in Brooklyn.
And I understand Mr. Carcaterra is on the phone?
Yes, hi Fred. This is Sal Carcaterra, and I am a police commissioner designee, born and raised in Brooklyn and live on Staten Island.
Great. Did I miss any of my board members? Well, welcome all. And before we begin, I need to address some really disappointing news that our team received from City Hall last night. As you all know, COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on New York City. This is a public health crisis unlike any we've ever seen. And it has also caused an economic crisis in the city, if not the nation, and throughout the world. We have seen it manifest in the form of people citywide struggling to pay for food and housing, and in skyrocketing job loss. Unfortunately, last night the CCRB learned that the situation is now hitting close to home. Absent imminent financial assistance from Albany or Washington, agencies in New York City, including the CCRB, will have to engage in a shared sacrifice to keep the city afloat. City Hall notified us last week that we must achieve $750,000 in savings, or a cut of about 4% from our already threadbare budget. It's an understatement to say this was disappointing news, but we at least thought layoffs, if we had to do them at all, would be limited. Knowing how hardworking, smart, and dedicated this team of public servants is, we saw layoffs as an absolute last resort. Last night's news unfortunately makes it clear that we will have to engage this last resort, that is layoffs, as the city has asked us to achieve an additional $726,000 in savings and mandated that these savings come from workforce reduction. That's layoffs. It is my understanding that all city agencies are under the same orders. I have reached out to City Hall and to the City Council as of very early this morning, asking for relief from these budget cuts. I'm going to ask my fellow board members before I continue if they will mute their lines. And I wish there were more I could say or do, but at least, at the very least, I can assure you that we will do everything within our power to continue to provide the kind of service New Yorkers deserve. This is a hard time for our entire city and a hard time for the CCRB, but this team's sense of dedication has never wavered. And if I can find any solace in this very difficult moment, it lies in the belief that this team's dedication never will waver. Now, as many of you know, this is our second board meeting in August, a departure from our normal practice of meeting once monthly. During last week's emergency meeting, we discussed delays in NYPD interviews, and I'm glad to report that it seems we have found a resolution. The interviews have now resumed. The road to that resolution, as all of you know, particularly all of our board members know, has not been easy. But I am glad we've been able to work with the NYPD to devise a path forward. However, we still face challenges on other fronts. Take, for example, CCRB's plan to create an online public searchable database of police misconduct. After years of work done by everyday New Yorkers, Governor Cuomo signed in June the repeal of Civil Rights Law 50A, the law that kept disciplinary records secret. A few weeks following the signing of this law, the repeal of 50A, the law that kept disciplinary records secret, police unions took to the courts, trying to take us back to the days when an officer with a pattern of abuse could patrol the streets absent public scrutiny. While I believe the CCRB ultimately will prevail in this lawsuit, I think it's worth thinking about why transparency is threatening enough that police unions believe it warrants legal action. Why is transparency and the accountability that inherently comes with it such a problem? If we are to see progress in New York City, we have to take a hard look in the mirror and think about what is at the root of this reaction. Civilians in all 5 boroughs deserve that degree of introspection. That's how we move forward. That's how New York City makes itself a national leader on police oversight, by insisting on transparency and accountability in our police community relations. Clearly, we have a great deal of work to do, but I believe that we have the will to do it. And I believe that because I believe you, everyday New Yorkers, have the will to demand it. We've all seen that will on display this summer, and I have faith that you will continue to call on leaders throughout this city to keep police accountability at the forefront. Before I turn things over to John, I want to again thank CCRB staff for all they're doing to continue serving New York City. And I'd like to take a moment to especially thank a specific staff member of the CCRB, and that is Senior Advisor and Secretary to the Board, Jerica Richardson. Jerica will be leaving the CCRB after nearly 4 years of service to this agency. She has been a dedicated public servant who has put her all into fighting for a better New York City. She stepped into an unprecedented role and really made it her own. Personally, and I say that sincerely, I want to thank Jerica, who has been an invaluable advisor to me and to my colleagues on the board and to the CCRB staff. In overseeing our outreach, public education, and communications efforts, Jerica has been instrumental to a number of the initiatives and step forward we've seen in recent years. And I think I speak for all of us on the board when I say that it will be sad to see her go. We congratulate her on her new position, wish her much success in her future endeavors. The other organizations gain, and I won't, I'll let her tell you who that is. is our loss. But Jericho, we, from the bottom of our hearts, really appreciate all you've done for this agency, all you've done for the people of the city of New York, and I know you will continue to serve New York and the nation in your new position. So thank you very much. And finally, on behalf of the board and on behalf of all our fellow New Yorkers, I want to thank all of our city's essential workers who continue to go out and serve in the face of COVID-19. Thank you. And before I turn it over to John Darsh for his few words, I'm going to ask Mr. Puma, who's joined us since I started my remarks, to introduce himself, and then I'll ask Mr. Darsh to proceed after Mr. Puma. Mr. Puma.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Puma. I'm the City Council designee to the board from the Borough of Manhattan. And I have some words about Jerica, but I'll save that for, I guess, another time later in the agenda, just to commend her for a job well done, and I'll leave it there.
Mr. Darsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending and all those who attended last week's meeting. Since the July board meeting, there have been a number of events surrounding the agency. The unions representing all of the uniformed members of the NYPD sued the city over compliance with civil rights law section 50A. After 50A was repealed on June 12th, CCRB began filling FOIL requests pursuant to the new statutory framework. There are a variety of types of FOIL requests. When we get requests for documents, it takes a long time to go through those documents. But when we get requests for data, because you control the data that is being released, it's stuff that we could do much faster. So we, in the month between 50A being repealed and the unions filing their lawsuit, we disclosed pursuant to FOIL requests a large amount of data. In July, United States District Court judge issued a temporary restraining order that enjoined the CCRB from releasing records until the court can hear arguments. And those arguments are scheduled for next week. The CCRB is not alone. Many groups are filing amicus briefs. The New York Civil Liberties Union and NYU Law's Center on Race, Law, and Injustice, which is led by our former chair, Deborah Archer, are just two of the organizations filing amicus briefs. Increasing transparency and establishing an online database so that any civilian can access member of service CCRB allegation histories remains a priority for this agency, and I am confident we will prevail in the litigation. The CCRB is continuing to work through the backlog of 500 cases which were waiting for member of service interviews. We anticipate it'll take another 12 weeks to get through that backlog. We've also been working on reducing the backlog of requests for body-worn camera footage. In June, the backlog was 1,200 requests, and that is now down to approximately 700 requests. That's a significant improvement, but the agency is going to continue to work with the department to reduce the backlog, as well as continuing to advocate for the agency to have direct access. BWC has become a vital, almost essential tool for the work we do, and it's important that we have access to that data. The health of civilian staff and members of the NYPD remains a priority of this agency. Our office is open with limited staff. We strongly encourage individuals who can to contact us by telephone, email, or website if possible. You can file a complaint on our website at nyc.gov/CCRB-COMPLAINT, or call our hotline at 1-800-341-2272. And then just to give some ground rules for the public session, please use the raise your hand feature to make a comment. And we're going to ask you to limit your comment to 2 minutes. If you are going to discuss a problematic encounter you had with a member of the NYPD, please provide your contact information so that our investigators can follow up with you. And finally, I'd like to thank the staff for the hard work they do, and thanks again to the members of the public for participating in this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Darsh. Let me see if any of the board members have questions or comments at all on John's presentation. All right, hearing none. Are there any elected officials, Yahira, that
Yes, I'd like to. Yes, I'd like to.
People who aren't speaking, if they will mute their mics. But go ahead, Yahira.
Yeah, I would like to acknowledge that Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark is in attendance. Soren, if perhaps you would like to send some greetings, so to unmute and allow video.
D.A. Clark.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Am I?
Yes, welcome. We're happy to have you. You are now mute. I think you need to unmute D.A. Clark. There you are.
Now I'm unmuted. All right. Now, I'd just like to thank you all for your hard work and what you do on behalf of the citizens of New York City. As district attorney, you are well aware that, you know, my office services the Bronx and all members of the Bronx. We work with the NYPD as well as with the community, and I think that the work that the CCRB does on behalf of New Yorkers is beneficial to all New Yorkers, especially the Bronx. So thank you for allowing me, you know, just a few minutes to say hello, and also, but most importantly, to say thank you for the valuable work that you provide.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your service as well to the people of the Bronx and thereby to all the people in New York City. And we really appreciate your taking time out of your schedule to come in and show your support for the work of this agency. It means a lot, not only to the board, but also to our staff. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Indeed. Yahira, are there any other public officials with us?
That's it at the moment. Do want to acknowledge that 9-year-old Blackshear from the Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams' office is in attendance. So just want to acknowledge that they're there.
Great. Thank you and welcome. So I think we'll move to the next part of our agenda, and that's a presentation from our outreach team. And I'll turn to Yahira Alvarez again.
Great. All right, just want to make sure folks can hear me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So thank you everyone for coming on this rainy afternoon. For those of you that don't know, I want to take a moment to go over a little bit of what the agency is charged to investigate, and some of the work we've been currently doing in regards to youth outreach. So as you know, we are a city agency independent of the NYPD. We're responsible for investigating, mediating, and administratively prosecuting allegations of police misconduct. As you've met some of our board members, the full board is composed of 15 members. 5 are appointed by the mayor, 5 are appointed by the city council. Those city council appointees each represent each borough. 3 are designated by the police commissioner. 1 is appointed by the public advocate, and the chair for Davie is co-appointed by the mayor and city council. So although we investigate police misconduct, we don't investigate all allegations of police misconduct. A way of remembering what falls under jurisdiction is the acronym FADO, F-A-D-O. The F stands for force. So if force is used in interaction with a police officer, that would fall under our jurisdiction. We would use the patrol guide, legal guidelines to determine if the force used in that interaction was excessive or unnecessary. We also investigate allegations of abuse of authority. This is a large category, but some of the items included in this includes an improper stop, an improper search, a police officer threatening to call ICE, a police officer refusing to provide their name and shield number, or a refusal to provide a business card, which I'll talk about in a moment. The third category is discourtesy. So that includes allegations of a police officer using profanity or an inappropriate gesture. And finally, offensive language. So that is language that inappropriately refers to my race, ethnicity, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, religion, or disability status. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Right to Know Act. It is a law that has been in effect for almost 2 years now. And some of the major components of it are that police officers must identify themselves by providing their name and identification number if asked by providing a business card. This is an example of what that business card looks like. In the majority of interactions with the civilians, police officers must proactively provide that business card. If they do not have if they are not required to provide that business card, you as a civilian can always request that information. And if that isn't provided, feel free to file a complaint with us. Another element of the Right to Know Act is that with some exceptions, the police officers should explain the purpose of that law enforcement interaction. Police officers must also inform you of your right to say no when asking for your consent to search your person, property, vehicle, or home. So in other words, if they don't have the legal justification to search, they must ask for that consent, and you have the right to refuse that. And last but not least, in cases where I may be monolingual and might not understand what the police officer is instructing me to do, or what the purpose of the interaction is, they must provide language access services. As was mentioned before, there are multiple ways of filing a complaint. You can file a complaint online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint. You can call the office directly, 1-800-341-CCRB or 2272. We'll add that in the link. And because of recent developments, if you see footage of police misconduct via social media or in the news, you can file a complaint, even if you weren't the victim or the civilian involved in that interaction. Again, online, over the phone, but also our offices are open for those that find that to be the easiest way of doing so. We're located at 100 Church Street, 10th floor. You can also file a complaint at your local precinct or file a complaint via mail. And as the summer feels like it's coming to a close, wanted to provide the board and civilians an update on our youth outreach efforts. As some of you know, we are in our second class of Youth Advisory Council members. They represent New Yorkers from all 5 boroughs. They range in age from 10 to 24. And they have worked this year to produce and write a PSA, which you can find on our website, and we'll share a link in the chat. Some of the other items that the YAC members have worked on, some have attended the Mayor's Youth Town Hall in Harlem, which our YAC member Elias was able to ask a question directly to the mayor in regards to veteran police community relations. I also wanted to remind everyone that if you are a teacher, I know that some DOE representatives are in attendance, we are happy to provide virtual presentations to those groups. We have conducted almost 200 presentations since COVID and changed our approach to be more interactive in that space. You can also follow us on Instagram at CCRB_NYC, via Twitter with the same handle, and Facebook /CCRB.NYC. If you know of any youth interested in the YAC program, applications will go live in the fall. In the meantime, they can send an email to outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov, and we'll make sure to add them to the email list. And of course, if you have any requests for presentations, we'll be happy to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yahira. Let me ask our board members if they have any questions or comments on your presentation. All right, hearing none, we will go to community comments. So Yahira, thank you for that presentation. And now we're going to ask you if we have any invited speakers in the community who'd like to speak.
Yes, before we get into that, we would like to introduce Councilmember Carlina Rivera that's joined us. Soren, if you can unmute.
Welcome, Councilmember Rivera.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and for this opportunity to testify. I want to thank the members of the Civilian Complaint Review Board for hosting this public meeting and for this very, very important opportunity. I think disappointing doesn't even begin to cover how I and all of you must feel with City Hall's announcement on budget cuts and imminent layoffs. I and many other elected officials and advocates believe you need more resources and teeth really to change your recommendations to that beyond advisory. But why I really am here today is to highlight a disturbing pattern of excessive force that the NYPD has demonstrated towards New Yorkers during the COVID-19 pandemic and an unprecedented racial justice movement. In my district on July 28th, Nikki Stone, who I will refer to as Stickers, as she prefers, was arrested by plainclothes officers using an unmarked van without warning during a protest. And these fear-mongering tactics mirrored federal abductions that have occurred across the country this year. The NYPD initially defended the arrest, stating that the warrant squad uses unmarked vehicles to effectively locate wanted suspects, while Mayor de Blasio conceded that it was the wrong time and place to effectuate that arrest. This lack of clarity is a recurring issue within the NYPD. What happened with Stickers is not an isolated event. Just 10 days later, the NYPD brought over 30 police cars to the house of a Black Lives Matter organizer, Derek Ingram. Despite not having a warrant, the 6-hour standoff involved dozens of officers, riot gear, and a helicopter. This tremendous display of force and resources did not result in an arrest. The NYPD's decision to harass protesters and activists without the legal means to do so sets an extremely dangerous precedent. The mayor reported that the choice to use these tactics was made at a much lower level than what should have been allowed. Commissioner Shea claims that he was unaware of the decision and intervened once notified. This begs the question, who is in charge of the NYPD? This consistent evasion of responsibility actively perpetuates a culture of police brutality and intimidation in our city. Vague promises that these incidents will be addressed structurally and discussed with higher levels of leadership are not enough. We unequivocally need new leadership and clear-cut changes. The NYPD has also yet to address the excessive displays of force against civilians during COVID-19. On May 2nd, Officer Francisco Garcia attempted to enforce social distancing in my district by tackling Donnie Wright and sitting on his neck on Avenue D in the Lower East Side. This unacceptable assault could have had fatal consequences, as we saw when a similar practice caused the death of George Floyd only 23 days later. But by the time Officer Derek Chauvin was fired and charged with the death of George Floyd on May 29th, the NYPD had only just begun internal disciplinary procedures to investigate Officer Garcia's misconduct. It has now been over 3 months of waiting to learn if Officer Garcia and other NYPD officers with similar records will be fired or face any criminal charges. The police brutality that has taken place through this pandemic is not new, but it is all the more unacceptable during a public health crisis that disproportionately affects New Yorkers of color. When officers continuously place New Yorkers' lives at risk, whether by employing violent tactics or by refusing to wear face masks, the NYPD is failing the city it claims to serve. I am committed to fighting to hold the NYPD accountable even as we combat the many inequities exacerbated by the pandemic, and I hope the CCRB will soon take actions to do so as well. I want to thank you all for being here today, for giving me the opportunity to speak, and for your commitment to racial justice. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Councilmember Rivera. I want to say of the incidents you mentioned, I think there are complaints related to them in some way with the CCRB, and I will assure you that we will investigate those complaints thoroughly and be as open with the public as we possibly can about both the process and the outcome. I also want to say that we agree with you, at least I agree with you. I think maybe a majority of my fellow board members agree with you that more concurrence, if not having a binding authority when it comes to discipline, is also really important if we're going to increase confidence in civilian oversight of the NYPD. And then finally, needless to say, we strongly agree with you about the budget and resources because we desperately need them. And it is really unfortunate that during this time where we have an increased number of complaints beyond anything we would have imagined at the beginning of the calendar year, that we're going to have to take these fairly severe cuts to our budget. And as I said earlier, I reached out to both City Hall and the City Council very early this morning after finding out about this last night. And I'm making trying to make the case that it would be extremely detrimental to not only the agency, but to civilian oversight and to the responsibility that public officials have to the city when it comes to civilian oversight of the department, for this agency to have to sustain those level of cuts. So we appreciate your support on that, your leadership in the city, and taking the time to come out tonight. Let me see if any of my other fellow board members have any comments or questions before we let you go. All right. Well, thank you for being with us, and we look forward to continuing work with you in your office.
Thank you.
Right, Yahira, do we have any other elected officials to the invited?
At the moment, no, so we can proceed to our invited community groups.
Right.
Next, we have Clarissa Maribel James, Executive Director of Divas for Social Justice.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I just would like to say thank you to CCRB's outreach unit. Prior to the pandemic, Sonia Banegas came to our site on Fulton Street and provided a workshop, which was so helpful to our students, and we were hoping to partner more, and then, you know, COVID happened. But one of the things that we did do in light of what happened was we took the PSA video that was produced by the outreach unit, and we converted it into a QR code. And because all of our programming is virtual now, we've made it available in our storefront window so that anyone can come up and interact with the video. So I just wanted to say thank you. I'm so happy that I was invited to be part of this meeting, and I would welcome the opportunity for more virtual presentations for my youth development group.
Well, thank you, and thank you for promoting the youth development PSA as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other community group speakers, Yahira?
Yes, next we have Charlie Newman, the founder and CEO of Rise of Broken Women.
Is the speaker on? I see you there. Your mic is muted. So you may want to unmute. Is a speaker there?
Yes, I am.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Hi. First of all, I just want to thank Sonia for inviting me to this awesome panelist here to be part of. First of all, my name is Charlie Newman, and I am the founder of the Rise of Broken Women. I created the organization when I was in a shelter for 2 years, and I stand up for the rights of dignity to break the stigma behind periods. But what I also want to share is that I am a domestic violence survivor. And I've also found out that a lot of women that were in the shelters that I was in did not receive the proper care and support and help that they needed through the police force. Myself, as when I went to the police force, they accused me of being the part of the entity that I deserved what I got. But, you know, I pulled myself together and I said, okay, so therefore I need to make a change. And the change was to be able to support and back women and be their voice and say that we can move forward irregardless, and connecting with the CCR. This is profound to me because I really need to go forward with what we're doing and to support women as well as myself to strengthen us as, yes, we have a voice. We need support. And as a woman, a Black woman and brown women and women of different cultures, we need to be heard through the police department. I was turned away, and there's several others that have been. So I have, you know, this is just an awesome thing. I'm sorry, I'm just so overwhelmed here to listen to all of you guys and understanding the needs of being supported by, we need voices to speak for us and to protect us out here as women. And I just can't say enough that I applaud you guys. I think you guys are awesome. And I would also like to partner with you guys. Anything that I can do or you can do for me to enhance and go forth with what we need to do to help women as far as, and there's some men out there too, is to, you know, make it better where we can be protected and be listened to instead of being used as the scapegoat and being punched around, pushed around, and called names and you know and what have you. And I just want to say thank you. I want to keep it brief. I just want to say thank you so much for listening.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm sure Yohira and her team will continue to work with you and to work with you on making sure that you have access to file the complaints when you believe a police officer has either not interacted with you in an appropriate way or responded appropriately to your efforts to file complaints about domestic violence abuse or any other criminal activity. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Any comments from board members before I go ahead? Yohira, other speakers?
Thank you. We are waiting on a couple more to attend, so we can move on to the public session. If folks would like to leave a comment or leave a statement, if they could use the raise the hand feature, you can find next to your name in the participant list. If you're calling in, you can use the *9 function, and we will unmute you that way.
And I would like to remind the public that the comments are limited to 2 minutes, and we want to hold you to that so that we can get as many people in this afternoon who want to comment. So are there any hands raised?
Yes, first we'll be hearing from Michael Ari.
Hi, my name is Nico. I live in Williamsburg. I'm a city contractor and also a Department of Education employee. The reason for me tuning in is because someone left me here, but I have video footage of a police barricade last Tuesday because of construction. But the way it was barricaded, they left all the businesses open and were just deciding who they would let in and who they wouldn't let pass. I know sometimes they do that and you have to show ID, but that was not the case. It's just very arbitrary on film. So some people were like, pass. Some people were told to go a different way, and some people were arrested for walking on the street. So I found it troubling. I'm not sure if it's an illegal statute, so if it's just a matter of like maybe that person, but I have that footage to share with anyone who's interested, and I was just wondering what should I do about it, because I do live in the neighborhood and I just don't know if it's okay to keep the road open for businesses and then decide who comes in or not, and then some people get right. So unless it's all good, and I'm just confused, but I just wanted to share this, and someone told me this might be the venue to at least start doing something about it.
John Dosh, you want to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ari, if you go to our website, you can file a complaint on our website and also upload the videos you took. And then from there, an investigator will get back in touch with you and take a statement from you, and we'll investigate the case. There may be reasons that the police acted in that way, but if you have doubts, file a complaint with our agency, and our investigators will look into it and collect all of the data, present it to the board, and the board will decide whether or not it was misconduct.
I have to say the footage is 4 minutes long, so maybe just on YouTube a link if that's okay. Because
you know what, if you go online and file the complaint, we'll get the data from you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you both. Other public comment.
Thank you so much, Michael. We will send in the chat a link to that complaint link that John just mentioned. Next, we'll be hearing from the Mayor's Office to End Gender-Based Violence. We'll be hearing from Zena Sagajed. Sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Please go ahead.
Hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Zena. I'm from the Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence. And I wanted to just share some resources that we have for anybody who's experiencing domestic or gender-based violence at this time, especially because the lockdown, the stay-at-home orders, many victims may feel like they do not have any services they can reach out to, but it's very important for them to know that we do have a family justice center in each borough that services anybody experiencing domestic or gender-based violence, and the services are free, comprehensive, as well as confidential. We make it sure that they're client-centered, and so if a client is wishes to speak to a certain employee, but not within, like, for example, the respondent before stated she preferred not to, she didn't like how she was treated by the police, so I wanted to assure everyone here that if somebody is unwilling or does not want to speak with the police, they have that option to do so. So I will provide contact information of the Family Justice Centers. We are open, obviously, over the phone for now. So I will provide all that contact information as well as other resources where anybody experiencing domestic or gender-based violence from any age group can go to those resources and reach out to them. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Other speakers?
Thank you so much for sharing that information. Just wanted to confirm, I know that there was some technical issues, but if Dr. Jackie Cody, the Vice President of the National Action Network of the Brooklyn chapter, is on, Soren?
Okay, should we go to the next speaker while we wait?
It looks like she's on. Dr. Jackie, Dr. Cody, can you hear us? We'll try her.
Yeah, I see her there. Do you want to try one more time? Dr. Cody, can you hear us? Okay, let's go to the next speaker and we'll come back.
Great. Next on the speaker list is John Tufel.
So before we go to Mr. Tufel, can you hold and we'll hear from Dr. Cody. Her mic was on mute and I think she's ready to go. Dr. Cody? We can see you speaking, but we still can't hear you. It says that your mic is not on mute. Okay. We'll go to the next speaker and maybe Soren can talk to you and see if we can get it straightened out. So our next,
So next we'll be hearing from John Tufel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, Chairman Davey, thank you. My name is John Tufel. I'm an attorney and an activist based in Brooklyn. I wanted to thank you for your comments earlier supporting giving binding disciplinary authority to the CCRB. There's currently legislation being considered by the City Council to give CCRB that exact authority and to take it away from the police commissioner. As I'm sure you know, in recent years, over 60% of the time, the police commissioner has reduced or eliminated the recommended discipline that the agency has put out for police officers. In part, that's why it took 5 years to fire Daniel Pantaleo. I was just wondering if any board members tonight would like to speak on this specific issue of giving binding disciplinary authority to the CCRB and taking it away from the police commissioner.
I don't think we have any board members who are going to address that at this time. You have a few more, you have a little bit more time. Do you have any more comments?
No, I would just say that it's incredibly important that we make this change in the law, that I am also a former CCRB investigator. I can tell you that there is a culture of untouchability in the NYPD that comes from the knowledge that even if they are investigated and even if the CCRB does recommend punishment, that punishment is usually light or they get off entirely by the police commissioner. So I just want to make that point in this public setting. And thank you again, Chairman Davey, for your earlier comments.
All right. Shall we try Dr. Cody again?
Yes, Soren is we able to reach her?
All right. I see her there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we still can't hear you, Dr. Cody. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll keep trying until the meeting's over. Okay. Let's see if we.
Yes, we have one last member of the public who'd like to speak, John Sonda.
Hi, my question is for Executive Director Darch. Based on your knowledge, has the CCRB ever opened and conducted an investigation into members of the NYPD after the Executive Director himself determined that the complaint was not in the CCRB's jurisdiction?
The complaint was not in our jurisdiction? No.
How about after you determined during a reopening of the case.
So I, as a matter of routine, review reopen requests and grant or deny them depending on the facts of the individual case.
Yes. So after you denied a request, has the case ever been opened by the CCRB and an investigation been conducted?
So I may have denied a request, and then when there was if there was another reopen request, I may have granted a second request, but not sure.
May I ask questions to Mr. Davey?
In the next 34 seconds, yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Davey, you received the evidence that you requested from the last board meeting?
Ms. Sunda, I didn't think what you presented required any further action.
Can you explain what you intend to do with said evidence, and if you have the powers to investigate? Your only response was, "I will decide how it will be handled."
Sir, yeah, I will decide. I did decide how it would be handled, and we're not going to do it.
Have you provided any of the evidence to any of the other board members?
Sir, your time is up. We're going to proceed with the meeting, so thank you. Yahira, any other people to make public comments?
So before we try Dr. Cody one last time, do want to acknowledge that Congressmember Adrian Espiat, a staff member, is in attendance. And Soren, if you could try Miss Dr. Cody one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll be happy to invite her back in September.
Dr. Cody. I don't see her there, Yahira. So I'm going to propose that we proceed. And before I entertain a motion to go to executive session, I would like for us to hear from our departing senior staff member, Jerica Richardson. Jerica.
Yay!
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair Davey, Executive Director Darsh, all of the members of the board, and all of the staff here at the CCRB. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to work with you over the past 4 years. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished together in partnership. There were so many firsts, whether it was the 25th anniversary, the first ever Youth Summit on Policing, our first ever symposium, academic symposium at John Jay College. I mean, there has just our establishment of their Youth Advisory Council, our first ever PSA, expansion of outreach into intergovernmental affairs, expansion of policy into the advocacy space as well. And I'm just thankful for the community, our partners at a lot of the organizations and advocacy groups across the city, as well as the relationships we built with our elected officials and members of the department. I think, as we can see, police accountability is a critical issue. It's one that there is getting a lot of attention around, but I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been doing the work and have been committed to the work, because I think for us to improve the relationship between law enforcement and the communities they serve, it's important for accountability to be an important piece of that formula. So I thank all of you, and I look forward to continue to working with you in my new role, where I get to organize, advocate, and push for legislation on the national, state, and local levels around accountability, but also around the reimagining of policing as we know it. So thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you for your partnership. And I look forward to staying in touch and working with you all, maybe from a different vantage point, but just thankful to you and to all the members of this body, as well as all the partnership partners that we've had within the city and civilians who really stepped up and supported us in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarek. And again, thank you for all you've done for this agency. Again, for the people of New York City. And we...
Yay! Great, Jerica. It's great.
Thank you. Let me also, before we entertain this motion, wish Matthew Kadushin and his wife a happy anniversary today. I don't know that I'm supposed to know that, but I do. And so I want to wish them a happy anniversary and many more years of a happy life together. So Matt, wherever you are tonight, you and your wife, happy anniversary. So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn to the executive session. Oh, let me ask first, is there any old business to come before the board? Any new business to come? Mr. Puma.
Not so much new business, but I just wanted, I feel compelled to speak on Jerica's departure because I guess I might be the only board member still serving on the board that was involved with hiring her or recommending her for hire. So I just wanted to, put the chair put it in context very well that this was an unprecedented role. It was a new role that was envisioned to be a bridge between the board and the staff. And Jerica was a standout candidate and ultimately got the job. She was able to leverage her media and communication skills, her legal education, her project management skills, her intergovernmental relations skills, and just the list of achievements that she shared with us, shows how much she was able to help bring the work of the agency to a new level. So cheers to that, and I wish you very well in your next endeavor.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thanks again. And is there a motion to adjourn to executive session? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We will adjourn to executive session.